If you ever believed that New York City was the place where the American dream could shine the brightest, then perhaps it's time for you to reconsider.
I'm 60 years old. I worked 35 years. I'm a college graduate. I have no record. I have never been arrested or accused of anything, and I sleep on the sidewalk.
You're hoping you get something to eat. You're hoping somebody, doesn't hurt you, and just hoping that there's hope.
Streets?
Not with my kids, thank God. I have gone through it on my own when I was 16, and I don't want that life for them. Sorry.
It's okay.
Under the dazzling lights and the magnificent skyscrapers, a hell of homelessness is spreading, where hundreds of thousands of people are swept into a tsunami of housing crisis, invisible like ghosts and pushed far to the fringes of society. In this documentary, we will uncover the shocking truths about the homelessness crisis right in the heart of New York, where the light of the American dream has never reached, giving way to an all-encompassing darkness that extinguishes every fragile glimmer of hope. And if you still believe that America can become a better place, please patiently stay with us until the very end of this video. There was a time when New York City was the promised land for dreams starting from all corners of America. From the poor rural areas of Georgia and Ohio to the opportunity-depleted towns of the Midwest, people flocked here with hopes of finding opportunities and the desire for a better life. This city was once a symbol of the American dream, a place where anyone could rise up, as long as you were willing to work hard and persevere. But that beautiful vision is now just a story of the past. New York City is now gradually becoming a hellhole, where the American dream is buried under the tsunami of the homelessness crisis. The media has succeeded in painting a picture of New York that is perfect down to the last detail. But if you observe long enough, you will see that hidden beneath that magnificent beauty is a reality that no one dares to face. Behind the glittering lights of Times Square, next to the luxurious skyscrapers of Manhattan, there exists a layer of people forgotten by society. They move through subway stations, set up tents on sidewalks, and compete for every bench in the park. No one remembers their names. They are only known by the name zombie citizens. People with no place to go back to and no dreams to aspire to. According to the latest statistics, New York City is recording over 114,700 people without stable housing, the highest number in the entire United States. But that number is just the tip of the iceberg, as thousands of others are living in RVs, in unofficial shelters, unrecorded in any support system. Hidden in each of those soulless numbers are thousands of untold stories. There are people who once served in the military, paid taxes their whole lives, and raised 2 or 3 children. They spent their entire lives pursuing the American dream. But now that dream leads them to cold, desolate streets under the dim yellow lights, where a once vibrant city has no place for them anymore. If even in New York City, the symbol of hope and opportunity, that dream is gradually crumbling, then is there any city strong enough to embrace and preserve dreams that have barely begun to bloom before they wither away? Amidst the dazzling light and the relentless hustle and bustle of New York City, there exist areas likened to living graveyards, places where thousands of lives are left behind, forgotten in the heart of one of America's most prosperous cities. Midtown Manhattan, an area famous for its skyscrapers and luxury shops, is where homeless people set up makeshift tents, crammed next to piles of garbage, struggling to scrape by each day just to live another day under the cold dawn. They are like silent ghosts, existing among the hurried crowd, unseen and unremembered. Not far from there, East Harlem, once a vibrant cultural hub steeped in history, has now become unusually quiet. The once bustling streets are now replaced by the shadows of the homeless, children growing up in the stifling atmosphere of deprivation and anxiety, while adults cling to the fragments of memories of a life that once was. And on 34th Street, once a symbol of urban energy, it's also where the homeless huddle on park benches and under awnings, seeking a temporary refuge in the ever-changing heart of the city. They are the ones pushed to the margins and rendered invisible in the eyes of society. It's not the numbers or the speed of economic growth, but the lives that have fallen in these living graveyards that tell the true story of today's New York. This is a poignant reminder that amidst the glamour and hustle, there still exist heartbreaking corners, lives waiting for a miracle to be revived. Can a wealthy, prosperous city like New York truly be called a city of opportunity when there are still these living graveyards within its heart? What can we do to help those invisible lives return to the light? In the minds of many, the middle class is the solid foundation of New York City. People with stable jobs, a home, and a fulfilling life. But reality is painting a different picture, a truth that is gradually being obscured. More and more middle-class people are losing their homes and falling into homelessness right in the midst of this bustling city. They are not strangers out there, but rather our neighbors, colleagues, and friends who once lived beside us. Those people are facing the ever-increasing pressures of modern life, where stability suddenly becomes more fragile and vulnerable than ever. A job loss, a sudden illness, or a family crisis can pull them into a deep abyss with no way out. According to data from relief organizations, in recent years, the rate of homelessness among the middle class in New York City has increased alarmingly. Those who were once teachers, office workers, technicians, and even those working in the service industry are becoming increasingly vulnerable to financial and social shocks. They lose their homes, their jobs, and sometimes even their hope. The most heartbreaking thing is that the loss is not just about housing. Becoming homeless means losing safety, freedom, and faith in life. Those who once had stable lives now struggle to find shelter for the night, enduring stigma and ostracism from the community. The middle class is no longer a safe haven. It has become part of an increasingly complex and tragic social landscape. This change raises a big question for our society. If those who have contributed and built the city can so easily become the forgotten ones, what will the future of New York City be? And do we still have the strength to maintain the image of a city of opportunities and hope? There is a heartbreaking truth. The number of homeless people in the elderly age group is increasing rapidly and relentlessly. The elderly, once the pillars of their families and witnesses to many historical ups and downs, are now facing a life full of uncertainty, where a stable home seems more distant than ever. According to reports from local social organizations, the number of homeless individuals over 55 years old in New York City has increased by nearly 250% over the past decade. They did not choose this life, but unforeseen events made it impossible for them to resist any longer. Unlike young people who can find temporary jobs or support from their community of friends, homeless elderly individuals face particularly severe challenges. They are more prone to chronic illnesses, have weaker immune systems, and often lack the necessary medical care. Every night spent outside, amidst the cold of winter or the scorching heat of summer, can be a struggle for survival that anyone would find hard to imagine. These elderly people were once contributors to society, once parents and grandparents, the builders of the community we live in. They have worked their entire lives to nurture families, pay taxes, and contribute to the country. But now, many of them struggle to survive each day without stable shelter, safety, and the respect they deserve. This situation not only harms those who once bore great responsibilities, but also serves as a profound wake-up call for the broader society. When those who have dedicated their entire lives cannot find peace and a place to live. What does that say about our ability to care for and protect the most vulnerable among us? New York City has long been dubbed the city of dreams, where opportunities seem to always be abundant. However, The price of that dream is becoming increasingly expensive, making it unbearable for many. The average rent in New York City has now surpassed $3,600 per month, nearly 3 times the average income of many households. With these exorbitant costs, many residents have to spend more than half, even up to 80% of their income just on rent, forcing them to sacrifice other essential needs in life. In addition, the cost of daily living in the city has also increased significantly. According to data from the US Department of Labor, the prices of food, utilities, fuel, and other services in New York are about 40% higher than the national average, putting significant financial pressure on low and middle-income families. Even with subsidy programs like Section 8 for housing and food assistance from the SNAP program, only about 25% of those in need actually receive full access due to complex procedures and limited resources. As a result, thousands of families still struggle in poverty and lack stable housing. This exorbitant price not only wears down the physical and mental well-being of the people, but also turns many American dreams into unattainable illusions. When having a safe home or a full meal becomes a luxury, will that dream gradually fade, replaced by uncertainty and despair? There are lives that are honored in history books, but they are completely overlooked by society even while they still exist. They are the veteran heroes, those who have dedicated most of their lives to the country, but upon returning, many of them do not find the peace they once hoped for. The numbers cannot fully convey their complex and painful stories. According to statistics, more than 600 homeless people in New York City are veterans. They come from many different backgrounds, returning from distant battlefields, carrying both physical and mental scars. But the common point is that they all once served and protected the country with courage and dedication. The issue of homelessness within the veteran community is not new, but in New York City, a place with many support services, it has become alarming. Many of them struggle to access assistance programs due to administrative barriers or untreated mental health issues. Many of them have to live on the streets, enduring the winter cold and profound loneliness. They are the ones who once fought to protect freedom for others, yet now they have to fight to scrape by each day on the streets. Each passing night is not only a physical challenge, but also a battle against the prejudices of those around them. In a society that once praised courage and sacrifice, these heroes now endure being forgotten, isolated, and ostracized. Their presence on the streets is a silent yet powerful reminder of the responsibility of the entire community. When those who once dedicated themselves to the country cannot find a place to call home, it is not just a personal misfortune, but also a significant gap in the entire social system. If the heroes who once stood on the brink of life and death are still left on the fringes of society, then who will stand up to protect and care for the most vulnerable lives? Amid the hidden corners of the homelessness crisis in New York City, temporary shelters are considered a lifeline for those without homes. But for many of them, these places are not safe havens. On the contrary, they can sometimes be more dangerous than living on the streets. Shelters, which are designed to provide sleeping and meal accommodations, are often overcrowded. The cramped space, lack of privacy, and poor sanitary conditions cause many people to endure both physical and mental suffering. This place has become a gathering spot for those in difficult circumstances. Even many homeless people choose to leave shelters to live on the streets because they feel freer, even though they have to face other challenges, such as harsh weather or the risk of illness. Some recount that in shelters, they lose control over their lives and even find themselves in more dangerous situations than when wandering the streets. This not only increases loneliness and despair, but also makes an already difficult life even harsher. In reality, shelters, places expected to be the starting point for homeless individuals to reintegrate into society, sometimes become walls that separate them from recovery. Is there a way to rebuild the shelter system so that they truly become places of healing and support, rather than just temporary shelters filled with difficulties? In the heart of New York City, where streetlights illuminate every corner, there are heartbreaking stories of children with no future. The poignant melodies of small souls growing up in instability and the absence of a place called home. More than 146,000 students in the public school system in this city have experienced homelessness. Many children live in temporary shelters, in cars, or in makeshift tents set up on sidewalks. Constant movement prevents them from maintaining their studies normally. Some have to study in difficult conditions, even trying to concentrate amidst the noise of street clashes or the dim light of street lamps. Instead of experiencing a childhood full of hope and protection, many children have to face a harsh reality: material deprivation, mental instability, and pressure from the adults around them who are struggling to survive each day. These difficulties not only affect the present moment, but can also leave a profound mark on their future, an uncertain and challenging future. Can a city regarded as a hub of opportunity and change continue to move forward when the children here are still struggling to survive each day? And above all, are we doing enough to give these young sprouts a real chance to grow and thrive? In the heart of New York, public benches are not just places to sit. They have become weapons against the homeless. The benches are divided into small sections, with metal bars protruding or sloped surfaces that make it difficult to sit and rest, especially for those without a home to return to. This is anti-homeless architecture. Architecture intentionally designed to drive the poor out of public spaces. Not only in subway stations with backless and divided benches, but also in Bryant Park, Union Square, or under bridges, the last shelters for the homeless. Metal spikes and conical stones have been installed, creating physical barriers. In fact, many areas play classical music all night at high volumes to drive away those trying to find a place to sleep. All these designs send a clear message: you are not welcome. And deeper than that, it is a warning for everyone. If one day you lose everything, the city will treat you the same way. Although some argue that this is a way to maintain order, prevent crime, and preserve urban aesthetics, when the chair no longer serves people but becomes a tool of exclusion, it has turned into a symbol of indifference. Can a society be called civilized when the absence of compassion is legalized? In the freezing winter of New York City, when temperatures drop near 0 degrees and the winds are bone-chilling, the subway becomes the last refuge for many homeless people. Underground, where millions of people rush by each day, there exists another world, without sunlight, without soft beds, only the temporary warmth from the trains and the cramped shelter. For many years, the subway station has been a refuge for the homeless when all doors on the surface are closed. It's not just a place to avoid the rain and wind, but also a fragile boundary between life and the lack of opportunity to see tomorrow's sunrise. But the city authorities have recently intensified measures to drive them away from the train station, citing the need to ensure safety and order for passengers. The police regularly patrol, wake up, and even arrest those who sleep overnight. Hundreds of people are forced to leave their last refuge, compelled to wander the streets, under bridges, or in places hidden from society's view. A civilized society is not measured by the speed of trains or the height of buildings, but by how it treats its weakest members. But in New York City, that belief seems to be fading day by day. If even underground there is no place for them, then what space is left in this society for those who are left on the margins? Many immigrants come to New York with nothing but their dreams. But when those dreams shatter, they often have to rely on charitable organizations or seek temporary shelter in overcrowded shelters. The increasing pressure on the social support system is straining resources further, exacerbating an already serious homelessness crisis. This wave not only makes it difficult for the city to control the number of homeless people, but also creates significant challenges in terms of health, security, and social integration. Many migrants face language and cultural barriers, as well as the challenge of finding suitable jobs, making them more susceptible to prolonged poverty. The continuous increase of homeless migrants also creates tension in the community, as resources for those who have lived in the city are more limited. This increases the risk of social conflict and division among vulnerable groups. How can the city balance maintaining its reputation as the city of opportunity while ensuring a strong social safety net that does not leave the most vulnerable behind? In many news reports, homeless people are often blamed for urban decay, from dirty streets, rising crime, declining tourism, to plummeting property values. Homeless crisis is no longer just a social issue that needs to be addressed, but is gradually becoming a label to blame. When repeated too often, the image of the homeless no longer becomes a victim of the system, but rather the cause of all instability. Few people say that the homeless are not a monolithic group. They are the elderly, veterans, single mothers, former professionals, and even children. Each person is a story, and if you look closely, anyone can see themselves if life had just taken a different turn. A city cannot truly progress if the media only knows how to build an image without stirring compassion and reflection. Are the homeless really a problem, or just a mirror reflecting the issues society has yet to confront? Amid the hustle and bustle of New York, a fragile boundary is being crossed between maintaining urban order and losing compassion. Under the guise of ensuring hygiene and public order, districts in New York prohibit distributing food, drinking water, and clothing to the poor in public places. Anyone who violates this, even if they are just distributing a few homemade meals, could face administrative fines or even criminal charges. New York is not the first place to implement this. Previously, Philadelphia had issued a ban on distributing food to the homeless outdoors, citing hygiene and food safety as the reason. However, humanitarian organizations argue that the real purpose is to clear the image of the poor from tourist areas. The legal battle stretched to federal court and ended with a historic victory. The ban on distributing food violated the freedom of religion and expression. This is a lesson for New York today. No one should be punished for their kindness, and no city has the right to prohibit its citizens from helping the poor. However, New York still quietly enforces similar bans. Volunteer groups have to change locations, stop distributing food, or operate quietly as if their actions were illegal. Helping the hungry is never a crime. Poverty doesn't disappear when you ban assistance. It only becomes more isolated and widespread. If a city sees kindness as a threat, then what remains to preserve the humanitarian spirit of a superpower? New York City, despite having the largest resources and social support system in the United States, still has many serious gaps in helping the homeless. One of the biggest weaknesses is the complex administrative procedures, which make it difficult for the poor, the elderly, or those with mental health issues to access services. They have to deal with cumbersome paperwork, long waiting times, and often face rejections due to missing documents or not meeting the requirements. In addition, the financial resources allocated for support programs often do not meet the increasing needs of the homeless, especially in the context of rising living and housing costs. The healthcare system for the homeless also has many limitations, especially in providing mental health care services. These are core issues that directly affect their ability to recover and reintegrate into society, but they have not been adequately addressed. These gaps not only exacerbate the homelessness crisis, but also reflect a lack of determination and a comprehensive strategy in the city's social policies. To change the current situation, New York needs to invest more in improving the management system, simplifying procedures, expanding resources, and enhancing interdisciplinary coordination. After the relentless waves of crisis, the remnants of the homelessness crisis in New York City still linger, persistent and hard to erase. The homeless, although past the peak period, remain a familiar sight on the streets, subway stations, and parks. They are not just isolated individuals, but symbols of a system that has yet to fully recover. Many people who lost their homes during the financial crisis, lost their jobs during the pandemic, or suffered long-term psychological trauma, now still struggle with a precarious life. They may have left the crowded shelters, but they haven't found true stability, frequently moving to different places, living in cars, or in unofficial areas. Those remnants are also manifested through families being torn apart, children lacking developmental opportunities, and the elderly becoming increasingly lonely and fragile. These remnants also expose the shortcomings in the social welfare system, housing policies, and healthcare, demanding more comprehensive and coordinated changes. Without strong investment and commitment, New York will continue to witness the prolongation of the crisis, profoundly affecting the entire community. And finally, the remnants of the homelessness crisis are not only the responsibility of the government, but also a reminder to society as a whole that today's indifference and injustice will become tomorrow's burden. Can we learn from the past to create a different future for New York and the people left behind? When the lights of New York fade after the stories of the homeless, we are invited not only to see the numbers, but also each person with dreams that once burned brightly and the silent pain. The homelessness crisis in New York is not just a story of numbers or footage, but a cry for help from a society that is gradually losing its compassion and responsibility. What do you think about the homeless hell in the heart of New York City? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and stay updated with our latest videos. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. The entire content of this video is constructed from publicly available documents, statistical reports, and reputable media features with the aim of analyzing, reflecting, and provoking multifaceted thoughts on important social issues. The video is not intended to criticize any individual, organization, or government. We respect all viewpoints and wish to contribute to opening up constructive, honest, and amicable discussions.